Your friend has got a lot to share.
I can't believe we're back again. Welcome to another edition of Radio Friends again. And this is the 15th, to get it right, of March
No, it's
22nd.
March
Oh,
22nd.
man, damn it. Okay.
A week away.
What? That's the only thing. I never get the date right. It's the 22nd of March of 2024. And we've got a great group of folks already here. So let's zoom around the room a little bit. And whoever wants to join us as we move on, we'll bring them in. I'm Steve Parker from Berlin, Connecticut today. Bob Craig, let's go to you next.
Yeah, as usual, I'm calling you or talking to you from Philadelphia, the home of Chubby Checker, Cameo Parkway Records, the
Wow.
Orlons, D.D. Sharp.
That's great.
Oh, my God. Look at that.
Sounds like you got the box set.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see who else we've got here. There's Ron Pell. Hi, Ron.
Hi, Steve. I'm coming to you from lovely Cheshire, Connecticut, where it's in the 20s this morning, but it's going to go up to close to 50 today. And as far as the sports section of the show, I'm wearing my LA Dodger hat in recognition of Shohei Ohtani and his $4.5 million gambling gambit, which is making big news today, as he claims to know nothing about it, and he gave $4 million to an interpreter. Not a best friend, not a president, an interpreter who they quickly fired to pay off some gambling debts. And I'll leave it there.
All right, that's our Ahani. Oh,
Ohtani.
Ohtani. That's our Ohtani.
Shohei Ohtani, the closest thing to Babe Ruth that's been in baseball in 100 years.
Oh, Tani. Okay. Let's see. And we got Dick Calt. Good morning, Dick Calt. Are you in the vault?
Well, actually, I'm in Palm Springs on a one of those.
It's called a tram.
Yeah, I'm on a tram about 5,000 feet above.
I've been there.
So much warmer and everything, and I'm also full of shit. Yes, I'm in Westport.
Well, I can also see. I think I see Buckley's condo behind you. I've been up in that. I've been up in that tram.
There it is. Right. No, actually, it's beautiful. It's 78 degrees here in Westport under the dome.
Yeah.
Sun is shining. Ron, actually, Cheshire, if they just increase their tax rate a little bit, you could have your own dome as well. Are you back in your house?
Yes, we're in the new house too. This is almost 3 weeks already.
Well, Mazel Tov. That's wonderful.
Mazel Tov. Thank you.
So that's the story, Stevie. I can't stay very long, but I wanted to come and say hello to everybody.
Okay, we got Pete Salant. Hi, Pete.
Hello, Steve, and hello, radio friends again. Talking to you from Virginia Beach, Virginia, where I ran away from the high taxes of Connecticut many years ago.
Yeah, they are high.
Yes.
And a man who always has an opinion about something. We're certain because it's Bob Serkin. Hi, Bob.
Listen, I'm booked on a noon flight to LA. I'm going out there to clean up this damn Ohtani mess.
Finally, the man who figured out exactly who shot JFK is going to be put on this LA conspiracy right now. Oh, God. We got.
What are they going to do? Send the interpreter to Mexico?
Oh,
They left him in Korea.
Oh, I know, but send them to Mexico. They'll take care of them.
right now, sure.
Okay.
See if he can hit a ball over the wall. Okay.
Yeah.
We've got Dave Overson there. I think. No, he's still trying. He's trying his best to join us this morning. So we'll have to get back. Ed Mitchell's here. Hi, Ed.
There. I am coming to you today from a city that actually made it onto Jeopardy this week. That's right. What river runs through Evansville, Jeffersonville, and Louisville? Anybody?
The Ohio River? No.
The Ohio River. That's right. We made it on Jeopardy.
Cool. Wow.
So here I am in Hoosierville, and we are now world famous. Say yay.
Let's see. Jack Lawrence is back with us. Good morning, Jack.
Morning, Steve. We just hit 30 degrees here in Boston, so
Ooh.
and I got guys working on the tree outside, so if they hit a power line, you'll know what happened.
Okay, Tracy Carmen's back. Hi, Tracy.
Good morning, Steve. Coming to you from Riviera Beach, West Palm Beach, Florida, where it's
slightly rainy and 75 degrees, but I'm not going to complain.
No,
Oh,
not 75.
man. Let's see. John Landry's here. Hi, John.
Hi, how are you? I'm in the middle of the state of Connecticut, freezing my what's off.
Okay, that sounds good. He's freezing his Olanis off, whatever they got.
Ohtani.
Well, ever.
Ohtani.
Ohtani. Dave Nagel is back. Hi, Dave. How you feeling?
I'm doing well, thanks, Steve. Can't complain. It's as we just heard, the Central Connecticut cold.
Cold today. It's going to warm up.
Possible snow tomorrow. Welcome to spring. It's Connecticut,
Oh,
you know.
Gotta love it. Gotta love it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, but you know, that's why we live here. You know, it's part of why we live here. So
I came here for the tax break. Oh, go figure.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, you're giving the
out?
state a nice tax break. You're giving them a nice chunk of your taxes. Exactly.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
That'll
I always
break you.
loved it. I loved it. I still never got over the business tax. Wait a minute, I give you $250 because I have a business? Let me get that straight now. Okay. That was unbelievable. Did I get everybody? Did we cover everybody? Please tell me who I missed. Ta-da! Okay. So we've got the 22nd of March, and we were talking about just breaking news, which is we still like to stay on top of those things. Ron, you're wearing an LA hat, so give us an update with what's going on.
So Shohei Ohtani, who, for those who don't follow baseball, is probably the closest thing to Babe Ruth in that he was a world-class pitcher and a world-class hitter. And there aren't many of them around. Unfortunately, he underwent Tommy John surgery, which, for those who don't know, that's elbow surgery. And he'll be out. He won't be pitching for the Dodgers this year. But if his hitting is any indication, he'll earn his $700 million contract. $700 million to play baseball. And by the way, they don't start paying him until 2036. Another story for another day. True story. He offset his income so the Dodgers could get other players. And by the way, they hired this other kid from Japan, Yamamoto, who got lit up yesterday. They gave him $325 million.
Disabled your screen sharing with me.
And he didn't look so good yesterday. And they lost 15-11. And Dave is trying to say something.
Hey, Dave, we're trying to hear you. What do you got? My computer says I hit share screen, and it says that you didn't participate in the sharing screen. So you're working with everybody else.
I'm a host to you, Steve.
I don't know.
Well, now we can't hear Steve at all.
Yeah,
That's because I muted myself because Dave says Dave says there he is. Hi, Dave.
hello.
Okay, good.
I just can't hear you. I see you, I just can't hear you.
Well, now we can talk about him.
All right.
Well, we're getting closer. One of the things we're looking forward to is Dave Overson today. Okay, the only technicians who've been in television and radio and still hasn't mastered a Zoom. Come on, Dave.
Hey, Steve.
You can hear me,
Steve.
right?
Yes.
I know you can. I can hear you on my phone. For crying out loud.
I got okay, no Zoom link. Okay. All right. No,
Hey,
you got
Ron, I
Dick.
know somebody who probably could use a loan from Ohtani right now.
One of the reasons he deferred his salary is because he makes $50 million a year just from outside sources, not baseball sources. So he said, listen, you don't have to pay me now. Pay me in 2036, and 12 years from now, you can start paying me my $70 million a year. I know the money will be worth much less then, but I'll get by somehow. I make $50 million a year out of side of baseball. So use the money for someplace for other players. So they picked up this $300 million pitcher from Japan who never pitched in the major leagues, and he didn't look so good yesterday.
Wow.
I'll take the interest on the money.
Really?
Thank you very much.
All
Right.
bets are off.
Does this
Yeah.
mean that Pete Rose can eventually go into the Hall of Fame if
Yeah.
his housekeeper has been doing the gambling instead of Pete?
That's the biggest injustice of all time. He belongs in the Hall of Fame, but that's another story for another day.
I wouldn't disagree with that.
Yeah. By the
I
way,
agree.
to get off the sports and onto radio, I have an editorial comment to make. This morning, for the first time in a long time, I listened to terrestrial radio, Hartford terrestrial radio. And my first station, as well as I was working out on my treadmill, and the first station I listened to was WHCN The River. What the hell did they do to that radio station? First of all, I was lucky enough to catch a spot break, 14 commercials. I counted them, 14 commercials in one spot break. Who the hell besides me is going to listen to that? And then I listened to the music. When did the River start playing Michael Jackson? Because they were playing him this morning.
Wow.
I said, what happened to that radio station?
They play American Pie every freaking day. I don't know what kind of research they do or whatever, every day.
Didn't you program that station at one time?
Me?
Pete
Yeah,
Salandis.
I did. Right before they took all of the autonomy away from the local program directors.
Not
So-
Otani. Autonomy.
Yeah, right. I can't say it right. Sure. Yeah, no, right after I left in mid 2009, all the program directors that were left after the first purge lost their autonomy. There was, we were starting to take playlists from some idiot in some unknown place, and that's when it started to go down from there. But back then it was a I guess
hybrid rock pop station.
Well, yeah,
a lot of rock.
Yeah, and it was, it wasn't the same as the old HCN. In
Oh,
fact,
no, nothing like it at all.
it didn't make any sense to have those call letters still. But
Yeah.
hey,
It was
Who
good, but
owns
the
it?
programming was good, and their ratings were terrific back in
Yeah.
the day. I remember when I was sitting in my office listening to them when they changed format at DRC, and I said, "We're in trouble.
Yep.
This station is good." Dave, you were there. You remember that?
I do remember
I
that.
remember going to Wayne's office. I said, "Wayne, have you listened to what they're doing? This is really good."
Yeah. We both felt that way. Yeah, I agree with you. It was Wayne. We saw trouble.
Yeah.
Excellent
I was
station.
reading an article this morning that suggests that the only format that's really showing signs of life and potential growth right now on terrestrial radio is probably country.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
it was talking about the fact that stations are groping.
Question.
I also listened to
a
DRC.
question.
I-
Who
I-
owns the station now?
iHeart.
Well, that explains everything.
Oh, yeah.
Does,
There you
yeah.
go.
I also
Yeah,
listened to
But
DRC
tied
for
in
a
with
while.
BCN once
Yeah.
upon a time.
But did you listen to WRCH? The same thing. They had like 15 commercials in a row, 2 songs,
I
and they went
just-
into one.
It's stunning
news
to
and then-
me that they do that. That's like, what are they? I mean, the commercials aren't 1-minute commercials, obviously, but still, I'm just counting. I said, I can't believe this. Then I switched over to DRC FM, which is classic rock. They're
Mhm.
doing a good job. That station really sounds good.
Well,
And they
you-
don't
Their
run 15
audio,
commercials in a row.
their audio is probably some of the worst in the market, though. Unfortunately, I don't know why. I mean, 104, which they also own, sounds better acoustically.
Is it
I
like
mean,
too loud or something, or too
it's just-
grungy?
I think he's running too many sub carriers, possibly, and it's
Oh.
it's just like he's short on bandwidth for the audio to sound clear. It's distorted, especially in the mid and upper end. And it's like, oh God, DRC used to have such a killer.
Why don't they just
audio.
clone the other station that sounds good and make it
Exactly. I don't get it. I mean, even his 96.1 Southington, where he's doing cool radio on the format, that audio wise sounds better than DRC does. So I'm like, I don't get it. But I don't think DRC has had the same impact ever since Connoisseur went ahead and changed the pattern.
Is it
Yeah,
still called the Whale?
Oh yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah.
What sense does that
Because
make?
it goes
Anybody?
back to the Whaler days, the Whaler from the,
Oh,
because
but
that was a big.
I remember it, but anybody younger than 70 or so doesn't really remember it.
Well, given the
nothing you
format,
can-
it's
yeah.
really reaching a 35 plus audience. If you listen to music, it's all 70s and 80s classic rock. But it sounded good to me this morning. But Dave's right, though. I did hear some distortion. It didn't sound great.
Mhm. But no, their music's good. I've run into John Fuller every so often, and I don't question his audio ear, but he's we test the music all the time. We should be going up. I want to see bigger numbers. And it's like, okay, you're doing the right stuff.
No, that would be the only radio station in the Hartford area still doing music testing because everyone else cut that from the budget.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's expensive.
So,
Yeah.
Well, if
That's-
you overmodulate, you distort, and that may be what it is.
And
Yeah,
they
I
do
just
have a
find it-
rep for doing that. They have a reputation for that.
Yeah,
And that could be one of the reasons why the ratings are so low if you're testing.
Yeah.
Because all that pop music basically sounds the same now. Seems like the same person is producing it, and there's hardly any individuality with anybody doing anything.
Speaking of ratings, Bob, Craig, anybody know what this is?
What is that?
No, radio ratings diary.
Is that a
Called
diary?
a diary.
Oh, the
my
diary,
God.
yeah. Hey, something about those diaries. Do you remember back in the day when Arbitron would pay, I think, like a quarter
Water.
or was it a quarter?
Yep.
Was it some?
Well, went up to $1 or $2.
They
that
said
was
a
a
dollar.
dollar.
We got a diary and had to return it.
Anyhow, as kind of a test to see exactly what it was like to keep a diary. When I was with Greater Media, they had all the PDs do that. Try to do it for a week. Keep an actual diary the way a listener would for the amazing sum of like 25 cents or 50 cents or whatever the hell it was. And I started to do it from 6 a.m. and it lasted for me about 2 or 3 days. And I said, this is crazy. Who the hell is going to keep track of the way they would like to have you keep track? And that would be, I went on listening to the radio at 6:05 a.m., left the house at 6:30 for work, came back at 5:20. They weren't counting away from home listening at that point. And to keep this detailed diary for a whole week, especially if you were a heavy listener, like in an office, and you really wanted to play it legit, that you'd have to check out if you took a lunch and left the desk, came back an hour later or whatever. And it was such a hassle to do it. And that's why we always question the validity of what the ratings were all about. And another
That was the reason that I used to go down to Beltsville and
Beltsville,
actually
I did too.
research the diaries.
Mhm.
Yep.
Went,
Yeah, my
all
dad.
the time.
My dad did too. My dad.
And I
always said, going to
I
bed.
would fight for them. I would see diaries in New York for 99 rock, and there was WROR, which is 99 FM. And I would say, you tell me why they aren't
Right.
mine as opposed to theirs. But the fact was that the diary method always had its weakness. I mean, before that method was the telephone coincidental, which at least if somebody answered honestly and they were listening, you were getting a real-time audience measurement that you could then you could expand against a population model. But the diaries were always there was always an issue, but not that many people went down there. I would travel down there and they would put the diaries in the room and I'd read them all and everything. And
I used to go with Mel Troner, Rick Buckley, and Dick Corson.
Yeah,
Fly
my
down
dad.
and
I think my dad
we
went
would
on a
look
few of
through the
those
same
trips
thing.
too. I think-
Charlie
Yeah.
used to go down. I remember Charlie going down there to Beltsville.
That was things we heard
You-
around our house were Beltsville, Arbitron, then we heard Pulse and Hooper. So we kind of grew up with ratings. I still have a lot of them in the attic. But yeah, he would
Yep.
in fact he did a whole thing somewhere. I have a seminar or something, a workshop or something my dad did about the validity of Arbitron, which was really interesting, looking at it from that standpoint. But
I was just looking at the ratings yesterday for Hartford that just came out in February. And POP is not even on there. Occasionally they show up with a 0.1 or a 0.2. DRC AM does not do
No
a hell of
ratings.
a lot better.
Zero.
They hardly have anything. And I think the FM has maybe a 4 share somewhere in that vicinity. And RCH is still king of the hill. And it's always kind of interesting to see the stations that play holiday music anywhere from like the beginning of November and through the end of the year. What they do during the holiday season is double their ratings. They double their ratings during the holiday, and then you see it half in January. They have half the ratings they did in December. So interesting.
Well, didn't they lower their spot load also? We always did. Of course, we never had a high spot load. We never
Now,
ran.
remember contesting was a big issue at the ratings period. You would try to inflate the ratings by having a great contest,
Yeah.
whether it would be a car giveaway or X number of dollars in cash or something to sustain long listening spans during that period of like about a month or so. So there were many games that were being played, but now it's ongoing. It's like 24/7, and it's 7 days a week, every month of the year.
Yeah, it's
A couple
the
of
personal.
things I'd like to, couple of things I'd like to sneak in here at once. First, I'll remember Charlie once said to me, "You never get ratings during ratings periods. You get them outside of the rating periods, and you pray to God you can hold on to those ratings when the sweep is on." That was from Charlie. The other thing that was interesting was you were talking about how great RCH sounded, and have you heard this? And you went to Mulligan. I remember once POP was doing something that I thought was great, and I went to Charlie with it, and he looked at me and he said, "I don't give a shit what the other guys are doing. I just pay attention to my station. If what we're doing is right, we don't need to worry about anybody else." I really learned that lesson. I did go to Beltsville many a time when I was with CBS. I'll never forget, I looked at a diary when I was in the LA market, and somebody wrote in the comments section how much they loved Rick Dees in the morning, and yet no time in those 7 days did they actually listen to Rick Dees in the morning on Kiss
Right,
FM.
exactly.
But they loved him. He was their favorite. There was also a seminar at an NAB. Remember those many years ago?
Yes,
I think it
yes.
was conducted by Mark Ramsey and somebody else that used to be with the Ted Bolton group, who's gone on to. And it was where diaries are actually kept and how people fill them out. And it was scary as hell. It's totally based on recall.
Yeah.
And by and large, diaries, what was it, Thursday through Wednesdays? And
Yes.
typically what people would do is on a Sunday night, literally,
Yep.
Yeah.
just a
fill
couple
it
of
out.
days into the week,
Right.
they would sit down, women would sit down at their kitchen and fill them out. Men would fill them out in their bedroom. So that's why a lot of the soft AC stations went with all the kitchen tchotchkes to have reminders, the refrigerator magnets and the pot holders and all the things with logos on it, so that we could trigger something. And the AOR guys, they were doing belt buckles and male-oriented things because the guys were filling them out in their bedroom. But nobody spent 7 days a week logging these things. It was all based on recall of what they thought they heard. Our livelihood depended on that kind of crap information.
How many
And,
times did we see the women in the woman of the house, so to speak, filling out the diaries for everybody who lived there?
Oh.
Female, beautiful, Catholic school handwriting
Right, right.
for everybody.
There was a time in the 80s when Howard Stern started syndicating his show. And in Philadelphia, he came into the market, I want to say maybe around 83, 84. Anyhow, that's neither here nor there. But if you ever wanted to get your blood pressure raised, if you sit in a focus group and these people gathered around a table would tell you how much they despise Howard Stern, or we can't have it on in the house because of what is being disseminated on the air. And then the guy walks in and comes out with these incredible ratings, makes a ton of money, and you say to yourself, what the hell's going on over here? If these people obviously despise him, they don't listen to him. Why are his ratings so high? And why does he attract such a following, great numbers, and great income?
Closet listeners, Bob. I mean, it was the same thing we ran in with Brad Davis all the time. I mean, Brad, he's no Howard Stern, but what Brad would do, he would get into, talking about the nurses at Hartford hospitals, whatever. And whenever, and I know Ron, I mean, whenever, how many times we've run into somebody who would say, "I would never listen. I hate that guy. Did you hear him Wednesday? And he was talking about those nurses." I mean, that was it. And they'd never admit they listened to him.
Yeah.
But he had a strong following because everybody would say what he had done. And Ed, getting back to what you said, two things that used to happen. Like if the competition would take an idea or a promo or a slug line or a contest that DRC was doing, that somebody say, "Hey, Charlie, you did that first." He says, "Yeah, but I don't worry about that. Let's move on." I mean, it wasn't like going back, we did, you did, they stole this or they stole that. He just said, "Yeah, well, we'll come up with something else." And then the other thing he used to say, we're talking about the ratings, he would always say to the guys, from what I heard, was that he would say, "Don't worry about the ratings. My job is to worry about the ratings. You just worry about if they tuned in tomorrow and we weren't there, would anybody care?" And as soon as you start from I used to just observing from a talent standpoint, as soon as you start thinking about that and you see how because of 3 diaries you lost 40% of your audience, that mind whacks you. All of a sudden, what are you doing wrong? So he would always, I just learned a lot just by osmosis, by being around him. And it would be like that. He was just, if we're gone, would anybody care? And I think that's hard because I can remember going by, we had Kathy Fox, the Fox that rocks for a long
Oh,
time.
yes.
And she was great. But I can remember Kathy would be doing her show. She'd leave the door open to her studio and she'd be talking to her girlfriend on the phone while she was playing records. And I'd be going, Kathy, this is your time. It's not be work. And again, I'm a sales schmuck, I said, what are you doing? This is your sacred time, your 4 hours. Close the door, connect with your audience, and leave everything else. And then, of course, I'm the asshole. I'm sales. I'll talk to you later. But I always notice that. And the other thing that was a regular thing, and I swear to God, whenever DRC would have a great book, when they'd have a real strong book, then Buckley and Corson would say, let us have it for the next go round. And they would play with it. And they would play with radio as far as what they wanted to do and then the ratings would dive. And then Charlie gets it back. And then this really did happen.
No, they would blame Charlie, Steve.
Right.
That's what they would do. They would
Yes.
take responsibility for the crap that they did. Then they go in and blame, yell, and scream at Charlie. That's what hurt Charlie Parker.
Yeah.
I agree.
He never got credit for anything when it was doing well. But boy, if it
No, he
took
just
it
got
over,
blamed. He got blamed for all the bad stuff.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Sad. Very sad. He had better instincts than most research could ever deliver.
Yes.
Absolutely.
He missed being a consultant by 10 years. I mean, he would have been an incredible consultant, and I just want to jump in here for a second because we've had a few guys come in. Pete Ulanis, we always talk about, getting somebody from the sales side, and Pete was with us. Pete and Ron. Ron, you worked with Pete, didn't you?
Did. Is
Yes,
he on the call?
Yeah, he's on the
Yeah.
call right now.
He's
Ron,
Pete
how are
Ulanis.
you?
Oh my God.
Yes, look. Yes, how about
Oh,
how old
Pete.
we both look. Oh my God.
Pete, do you remember the trip to New York?
Oh, I remember you
Oh.
barfing.
Me, you,
Yes, I do.
Orson,
Certainly.
Buckley, John Fleming, Byron, Bill
Oh,
Stebbin. Remember that?
yes,
Remember that? In the
absolutely.
hotel?
That was,
Oh my God.
that was a great trip. And the Rainbow Room, right? We went to the Rainbow.
Oh yes, the Rainbow Room. That's right.
Yeah, yeah.
The
Wow.
topless dancers, the girls with the tassels.
Yeah.
I didn't
Hey,
see
Pete,
it.
how are you?
I only saw one. Hey, Dave, good. How are you?
Good, doing really
Nice-
good.
Nice to
Down
see
in
you.
Florida. It's nice.
Yes.
Where are you? Where are you these
Yes.
days?
I am in Newport, Rhode Island.
Oh,
Nice
good.
place to be.
Yeah, actually
Yeah.
adjacent to Middletown. If you guys ever get close to Newport, let me
bridge.
know.
I grew up
Oh,
in
yeah, yeah, well,
Portsmouth.
You're
I
in
grew-
Portsmouth?
I grew up in Portsmouth.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, so
Wow, Jim. Yeah.
That explains a lot, Jim.
yeah, that's you can blame it on Portsmouth.
I used to stay
Portsmouth.
I stayed in the Howard Johnson's Motor Inn in Middletown just so people thought
I know
was
where
in-
that is. Or
So they
was.
thought I was in Newport, but it was like
Yeah.
right on.
Well,
the-
actually, I just moved from Newport to Middletown.
Yep.
I was living in a very old, 100-year-old house that was 3 stories and near collapse, and it was sold. So I made the move to Middletown, just over the border, though. So I still
Oh, yeah.
consider myself a Newport.
Oh yeah.
In any event, a lot of interesting stuff going on around. I worked with Discover Newport, which was designed to greet anyone who came into town to have a good time. Stationed at Parati Park right on the harbor.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a chance to greet people coming off cruise ships and just walking around town and disseminate information and have a few yucks. And it was a wonderful, wonderful gig. It was kind of like my continuation of radio and an awful lot of fun.
Pete, while you were talking about what you've been doing for all these years, because you're one of the guys like myself that enjoyed both sides of the business. And I understand that, you've been doing a lot of voice work down there, but consistently for one group, right?
Yes, consistently for actually more than 30 years. I was on the staff of a company called VidCon out of Rocky Hill, Video, Connecticut. They had a client which liked my voice. They would always come to his production facility to tape their they're instructional videos, and I would do the voice for them. And this was more than 30 years ago, back in the 80s. Yeah. And that's continued. Matter of fact, I have about a 20-page script on my desk this morning that I'll knock out for them. And I'm still doing a little bit of that on the back end.
Good for you.
So a lot
That's
of fun.
fantastic.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Pete, you
Fun.
still
Ron,
drumming?
No, I
You still-
gave up. I didn't, I got tired of celebrating, carrying around a set of drums, the Feast of St. Hernia. And so I said, forget that. And I gave it up a while ago. I'm still singing a little bit, but mostly in my church choir. But that's about, yeah. So it's a lot of fun, but still enjoying music by all means. By all means.
Wow.
I recognize some of you, and my apologies. It's been too many years to some of you that I don't recognize, and I'm sure it's mutual.
Well, some of the guys you might be seeing in there from when you were there, Pete. Of course, Dave Overson, and you've got
Right.
Jim Harrington. Were you there when Jim Harrington was there? Jim, were you guys?
Who was that?
Did we miss each other, Pete?
You
I
did.
think we did, Jim. I mean, I certainly
Yeah.
recognize your name.
And I've
Yeah.
heard of you too, but
Pete, you were hired. Pete, you were
mostly
hired
in
by Bill.
post offices
Bill
and
Hines.
the wanted posters.
Pete, you were hired by Bill Hines, as I recall.
That's right. Bill did.
You came about a year after I was there, maybe a couple of years after. I started DRC in 75 or 76. I
Okay.
think you came a year or two later.
Yeah, I think so too. And yeah, I certainly remember.
He moved to Middletown, which is a beautiful town. Newport's gorgeous too. Not a bad place to hang your hat.
Exactly. Yes.
I mean, are you? What part of Middletown are you in? By may I ask?
A nice part. I see trees. Yes, I'm all,
Are you down toward the water? Are you
No,
up
I'm
toward
not towards
138?
No, I'm actually on 114. Wow.
I got to run, guys. Thank you very much. I've enjoyed it very
Dick.
much. And
Hey,
I'll
Dick,
see you next week.
Your gondola is coming, Dick. Your gondola is coming. I can see it.
I know, that's it. I gotta catch it or I'm stuck for the next weekend up here.
And also, before you go, I want to let you know that I just bumped into Paul Payton's first wife, Wendy, and
Oh, yes.
it was really cool. I was at CVS in West Hartford, and I'm walking through the parking lot, and I'm like, "Damn, I'll bet you that's her." And I just had to. I got out of my car and I walked over and said, "You Wendy?" She goes, "Yeah." And she said how many wonderful things Paul had said. One of the things he really enjoyed was getting together and doing the Zooms. And but we spent a few minutes talking to her.
You know what? I am personally going to have a statement about Paul at Gordon's because they worked together at HCN for a while. And then, of course, Paul came down to PLR. And it was a very sad situation to lose Paul as well. And there should be a pretty good turnout. So I'll give you more information if anybody's interested.
Terrific. All right.
Actually, I just gave it to you. It's the Heidelberg, and it's like from 4 o'clock on the 14th.
And who do we get a hold of, Dick, if we want to go or if we're available?
Drop me a note, and I'll pass it on to Leslie Schaefer.
Okay, that'll be terrific. Oh, Leslie Schaefer. Wow, that's wild. That's a name I haven't heard in a while. That's great.
There you go. Yeah,
Oh,
I
wow.
go back to 1970 with her.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Her father was one of the original owners of the station, which was purchased, by the way, for $125,000.
Popular
gosh.
99. Yeah.
The last time it sold as part of the package, I think its portion of the value was only 36 million.
Oh,
That was a while ago.
Ah, inflation does it again.
oh God.
I actually had an accepted offer for it. I offered Bob 3.5 million when I left, and he accepted it. And then he got another offer about a week later for 6 million, and I called him and I said, "Take the 6 million. Don't worry, I'm not going to screw you for that."
Star, right? Wasn't it Rick Starr?
Rick Starr, that's who it was. Absolutely.
Wow.
Paul is, but Bob is 94, and he published his second book last month.
Wow.
So think about that. Anyway, I got to go. I'll see you guys later. Take care.
Thanks,
Hi,
Dick.
Clark. Good to see you,
Thanks.
Clark.
Be
See
well.
you, Dick.
And
Steve.
we also have Jim Harrington popped up a few minutes ago, quite a few minutes ago now. Hi, Jim.
Hey, Steve.
And where are you at today?
I'm in suburban Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
And you're still
Don't
doing
look so enthused.
Nice town.
Come on out.
Nice town. Pittsburgh is a nice town.
It is.
It is.
It is.
Really
Yeah,
is.
It is. They call it the Renaissance City because, I mean, older people call it the Steel City, but Steel's kind of moved out, and it's a high tech. Google has a complex here and a bunch of other places, and
Hey, Duquesne won last night, Jim.
yeah, that was kind of amazing, wasn't it? They
Yeah,
haven't done that, I
wasn't
think, since '69 or something like that, or it's
Yeah.
been a long time, you know.
And let's see,
Um,
Lee Gordon just jumped on too. Hi, Lee.
How you doing there, Steve? Hi, everybody. I haven't seen Pete Yolanis in about 20 years or so.
Yeah. Oh, yes. How are you, Lee? Nice to see you.
We worked together at, I don't remember whether it was RCH or TIC because it was all the same place, but
It was RCH.
RCH, yeah.
Yeah.
I was kind of doing production for all of them, so it all
Right.
blended together. But yeah, so it's
What
been
year
a-
was that?
Well, it was late 90s, early 2000s. I don't remember when I finished up, whether it was 20 to 2001, 2 or 3, but probably 98 to 2001, somewhere in that vicinity.
Yeah, I'd go along with that. Yep.
And let's see, just trying to scan right. And Dave Overson did finally get with us at Port St. Lucie, right, Dave?
Port St. Lucie, and it's raining.
Yeah, raining here too.
Little chilly too. And
What
I
is
had
it,
to
70?
Probably right now it's about 70. Yeah,
74 here, Dave. You
yeah.
should come down south.
Yeah, I did yesterday.
That's right. Yeah,
And,
Dave Tracy
Steve.
and I had lunch yesterday at the Chinese buffet that is behind me now.
I recognize the background.
Steve, we're
Dangerous place.
talking about years. It was 1973 that I first met Lee Gordon in Manchester, New Hampshire, which is another story in and of itself. We were working at opposing AM radio stations back when that was big. Also, Steve, we have Clark Smith and Chuck Martin who have
Yeah, I
dialed
just saw
on
them. I just
recently.
saw them
Yeah.
come in. Hi, guys.
Hi, Dave asked me last night, Dave Overson, about Hartford, and Hartford was just released as far as the ratings go yesterday at 5 p.m. So if you want the top 10, I'll do it now and I'll write it up by the end of the weekend.
Let's hear him, Clark. Take us down.
Doing 12. Is it 12 plus you're doing, Clark?
Say what?
12 plus or 2554?
No, this is the I think it's 6 plus.
6 plus, yeah.
And it
6
comes
plus, oh
from
my gosh.
Inside Radio, and they're
6
pretty
plus.
quick about posting, and they also give the last 3 months and the cume. And I find the cume really important because if you got a top 5 cume and a bottom 10 share, you got a few tune-outs.
Got some
Think about
business
that,
for
6
Clark Smith.
plus.
Yeah.
Think about that. 6 plus. That means your rating goes from age 6 plus, and I think they stopped at what, 64 or 74?
I don't know what
How
they
stu- how
stopped at
ridiculous
now,
is
but the
that?
whole thing should
Yeah,
be
they-
45 to 85.
Yeah.
Go to
There
100.
you
What
go.
the hell?
Okay, so Clark, are you going to tell us the top 10 or do you?
Oh,
Yeah.
sure. All right. RCH is number 1 by a 10.6 top cume. Number 2 is TIC at a 9.4, also with
AM
a
or FM?
2 cume.
Probably the FM, I'm sure.
HCN is number 3.
Yeah, that's amazing.
7.6, fourth cume.
They sound like crap.
I mean, it's the best of the rest, so it works. ZMX is number 4 at a 6.9. YZ is 5th with a number 5 cume at a 6.7. TIC AM is 6th with a 5.7 and a number 11 cume.
That's because of Saturday morning.
That's
They
what it
don't
is. Yeah.
break down Saturday morning. It's just 6 to 12 midnight, and you got
I
to
know,
pay
but
money
that's-
to get the extra stuff.
I got those 6-year-olds listening to me, Ron. Let me tell you. All they do is they
Crazy.
just strap a people meter on some kid when he leaves the house. You know?
6 years don't even know what a
And
radio is.
WNPR is number 7.
Hmm.
They've got a 5.1. I understand they're still trying to figure out what to do with their $500,000 translator that they bought in Danbury. And
How much did they pay for it?
$500,000 for a
Oh my
Danbury
God.
translator.
Jeez.
Wow.
Yet they couldn't figure out to get Litchfield for $315,000.
Yep.
So,
Yeah,
Wow.
John
hey,
Fuller- John-
you
John
know,
Fuller
Jerry
and
Franklin
Litchfield.
was a visionary. The new guy isn't. And that's the truth.
Mhm.
8th is KISS at a 4.7. 9th is DRC FM with a 4.9, and number 7 Cume, and a tie for 10 at PLR at 2.9 and MRQ HD2 Spanish Tropical at 2.9.
Wow.
By the way, the regular MRQ is number 12 with a 2.2.
Wow.
So,
So I told you,
Figure.
Steve, we should have gone to MRQ.
say again?
I said we should have gone to MRQ.
You know, the thing is, I mean, when you look at this stuff, it's just insane. I was working with a local advertiser one time. This was before before I ever got involved, I think, with TIC, and the rates had gone down. And I don't know, Ron probably ran into it too. And you know, you're going, why are your rates down? And they said something about PPM or something, and I'm like,
PPM changed everything. The ratings, because when they went to a PPM, the rating methodology changed. So the average quarter hour that might have been a 5 share suddenly became a 4 share. So the radio stations didn't have much of a choice, because all the agents say, your cost per point's too high. I don't want to get into the weeds here, but they were just charging too much. We made Dick Gold unfortunately went away, but they changed to PPM in 2006 or 2007. We made, and I'm no exaggeration, about $2 million extra that year based on taking advantage of radio stations. The way we used to work is that we'd get a budget from the client and we would buy the advertising. And if we happen to save a few bucks along the way, as Steve knows, well, we saved a few bucks, and that was profit. We made Dick and Barry had a conversation with me. They were almost embarrassed about how much money we made that year because we took advantage of PPM. It's just crazy.
Wow.
And they thought, oh, PPM will be much better. Bullshit.
Yeah.
It was just bad.
No,
But we took advantage of it.
I just was surprised when I was talking to somebody, a sales rep, and I said, why did your rates go down? And we were talking local direct. And they said, because of PPM. And I'm going, what are you, an idiot? The local person doesn't know what a PPM is. Why would you, I mean.
If anybody knows, PPM is basically a device that looks like a pager that you would wear that would pick up signals, encode them, and then translate them into ratings somehow. And people would strap them on a dog.
Yeah.
And the dog would, what was the dog listening to? That was crazy.
That's only what you're exposed to, right? Not even what you're listening to.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
I was in a dollar store one day and they had BZ on in the front and they had some other station on in the back. And it's like, if you had one of those, it'll be picking up all over the place.
Well, I had my, well, they used to call them program directors. I had my brands manager sit down with me and explain, I guess they can get the results from PPM like really fast.
Instantaneously, right.
Yeah. And she was able to go back and look at the last, the last program that I had done. And Ivor Hewitt passed away, and Ivor Hewitt had been in the market for 1,000 years. And Ivor was, old line guy, and he used to be a clown. He was a clown on TV in the early days.
Great guy. Yeah.
I know the family. I could talk about Ivor, and my boss specifically said, Steve, don't talk about Ivor Hewitt because it's not our demo. We're going 25, 50 for adults and all that. I said, okay. So then the next Saturday, Scott Gray starts talking about Ivor Hewitt. And I'm like, oh shit. And he's crossing over to me talking about Ivor Hewitt. So I can't say I never heard of Ivor Hewitt. So I said, oh yeah, Ivor Hewitt. Well, then I got called for the first time ever, and I've never been called in again by my brands manager. Steve, I just want to show you how the PPM works. And she's explaining it to me. And she goes, and you see right here, you were really doing here, and then you drove right down here.
Right down, right.
I wanted to say, you mean where I spoke about Ivor Hewitt? And I was like,
I believe it was Ed Mitchell who said that Charlie used to say, it's not what you're listening to now, it's what you've heard all year and up until that point. So that's why that whole argument with your brand manager, Steve, and that's bullshit. It's complete
Not
bullshit.
to mention the fact,
Right.
not to mention the fact that with PPM, and Bob Craig and I were probably some of the early guys that got exposed to it in our major markets. The whole idea was to make it more accurate, but the other part of it was supposed to be a better representation. And they put
Right.
out fewer PPM devices than they ever had diaries out in the field.
Right.
So your dive in the ratings, Steve, was possibly one person because you could see
Right.
fluctuation in the PPM. Initially, PPM was supposed to be people would wear that same device for up to how many years? Was it 2 years?
6 months or something?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like 2 years,
Yeah.
they committed to it. But in fact, reality was they were turning those things over almost as much as diaries. So there was no continuity in terms of how long somebody really listened to your radio station, because in essence, the PPM keepers were no better than diary keepers. They frankly flipped them off. They said, I don't want to bother with this anymore. And
Right.
yeah, there were people that tried putting them on dogs, by the way, but there was a sensor in the device that if the person didn't move over a period of time, they shut off. Because what was happening was women were attaching them to their purse
Right.
and going to a job and then leaving the purse at their
Purse,
desk, and they
exactly.
walked all around the office and extending TSL as well as your Cume. And it was just farcical that this new and improved was actually worse than before. If that
You know,
makes
Ed,
any
I was
sense.
at an NAB meeting in 2008, and I saw you on a panel talking about this very subject. It was 2008. I forget what, maybe even Washington, D.C. I forget where it was, but I was there I was a CRN at the time, and I was there with somebody else, and you were on the panel. And you were Ed Scarborough in those days. And
yeah,
yeah, I remember.
Wait a
that.
minute, you
were
mean from
talking
the
about this very
Scarborough,
subject.
rating service, Ron?
Remember Scarborough?
Yep.
Oh my God, that was another one I hated.
Oh my God.
Steve, I want to go back for just a moment. The name Ivor Hughes, I know that name. Who was that? After I left the market? Who's Ivor Hughes?
Ivor Hughes was he was just an old line broadcaster. I guess he was actually way back. He was, I think, maybe the clown on Channel 30.
Yeah.
He used to
He
go
had a
around,
puppet show on Channel 18.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
He was also
a
the
few
PD of
times.
POP back in the late 50s.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, speaking of blasts from the past, I got to speak to Father Ed Nadolny.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
the other
God.
day. He's
Wow.
91. I'm driving down 80
Chuck, do you remember Father Ed?
And there's
I
a
sure
big
do.
billboard
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
his name and phone number.
Yeah, I
So
sure
picked up the
do.
phone and called him, and there he was.
Back when Chuck was my mentor and PD at WAVZ, Ed was Father Ed was doing a Sunday morning show for us. What an interesting time that was.
Hey,
He would
Chuck,
come in.
Ivor Hugh did a Sunday morning show as well. I remember his wife would bring bring a 10-inch reel in to POP every week to be played on Sunday morning during our Sunday morning stuff, and similar to what Father Ed did. And I remember Jack Carney was telling me, he told me the story of when he was working at TIC-FM when they first started doing the current, when they switched over, and Father Ed was doing still doing his Sunday morning show. And Jack came on with the music right after Father Ed's last Sunday morning public service show, and Jack is walking up the hall to the studio, and Father Ed is just wrapping up, coming out of his studio, and he looks at Jack and he says, "I'm so full of shit, it isn't even funny."
I remember Father Ed from my first TV job at Channel 30. And he would come and advance Bishop Whalen's appearance the next day. And he would ask, he said, do you want the bishop to wear the big ring?
Oh my God.
He was some character.
I got an
Lee
Ivor
Gordon.
Hughes.
Yes.
Have you run into Lee Patton Steele at all? Is he still around?
No,
he passed away
years
away.
ago. He was my
Oh, he
first
did.
chief engineer.
Yeah.
He passed away a couple
I
of
went
years
to
ago.
his wake in Bristol.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, we
Yeah,
worked
he was
together at
wonderful,
BIS where I
wonderful man.
started. He was a
Yeah.
great guy. Great guy.
I mentioned it before, but when I worked briefly at WRCQ, and Lee was the engineer, and Lee Manson was the program director, and we had a woman there named Lee Sparapani, and every once in a while, the four of us would be in the same, would converge in the hallway or something. And Lee Manson just thought that having 4 Lees all in the same place was the most hilarious thing ever.
Pete,
Yeah,
do you remember?
there's a place in Jersey that has that name.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's Fort Lee.
Hey, Chuck Martin, where are you coming to us from today, Chuck?
Diamond Bar, California, outskirts of Los Angeles. It's cloudy, rainy, and we've had a terrible year out here. I need a rowboat. Any of you guys in Connecticut, if you got a boat, that's what we need out here. You hear about how we're in a drought, and it is. We're in the desert out here. But boy, oh boy, this year here we had more rain than we can imagine. And I can remember when I first came out here, 1977, I believe it was. And it was my sister, who's been out here since 1958, said, "Oh, you got to conserve water. If you go into a restaurant and you want water, you have to ask for it. They just don't serve it." And they had this code in the bathrooms, in the toilets. If it's yellow, let it mellow. And if it's brown, it must go down. And so, yeah. And that very year, we had 37 inches of rain. It was a record-breaking year. And the very next year, it was 34 inches of rain, where we normally get only 14 inches of rain a year. So I'm saying, what drought? We're in a drought? Are you kidding me? But Pete, I wanted to say, if I can, Father Nadonley, you're talking about Father Nadonley. When I was PD of Waves in New Haven, Pete was my night guy. We had, not only did he do the Sunday show, Pete, but he had these little vignettes, and they would pay, the Archdiocese of Hartford would pay for these little vignettes, and it would be, like silly love songs would come on by McCartney. And hi, I'm Father Nadonley of the Archdiocese of Hartford. And you know what's silly? If you don't really have love in your life, you have to have or Brother Louis. Oh, Brother Louis, sometimes people, they don't understand you. And you have to take a little more patience in your life to understand the things that we don't understand. Well, I had enough of that, and I went to Mo Monahan, and I said, hey, listen, it's one thing that you want to take on this, for bucks in the sales department, but you can't be using hit records. The song comes on, or people think that the record's going to play. You've got Father Nadonley telling you how you have to love Jesus because Paul McCartney said silly love songs are silly without the love of Jesus. We can't continue to do that. Needless to say, I lost that bout.
Money wins. Money wins.
Gentlemen,
Nobody walks.
I'm going to have to.
Speaking of song inspirations, you were getting back to Mellow Yellow. Was a toilet the inspiration for Donovan Leach's hit?
Oh God.
Oh God. Yeah, it's funny when you talk about Father Ed, and it's amazing. I mean, Dave and I dealt a lot with Father Bill Charbonneau, but with Father Ed, he would always come into the station. But I'll never forget, my dad, gets 19, I think it was 83 when he had his second double bypass and complications, everything else. Father Ed comes in to see him as Father Ed. He comes into the hospital as Father Ed. I think he goes right into the ICU as Father Ed. And what does he do when he gets to my dad? Wants to talk to my dad about the radio business. Father Ed just takes off on the radio business. But it was interesting. But Father Bill Charbonneau, Dave and I used to have him on with us when we did the POP thing. But he really did. He when my dad passed away, Father Bill showed up. And I said, "What are you doing here?" He says, "Well, I'm here to co-celebrate, the Mass." But one of the things he had sent me, like right after my dad passed away, was talking about how he would always come down from Holy Family or come down from the seminary. And he would go see my dad, and he loved radio. He used to do the bridal fairs with us and talk to the brides and all this stuff. But he did say, he says he really was very, very confused at that point in his life. He says, "I really can't decide if I should continue on as a priest or if I should go into radio." And my dad said, as many of us have heard, radio's like a bug. And once you've been bitten by that bug, you can't do anything else. And he goes, be a priest.
Hey, the other Pete is trying to say goodbye here.
Oh, no.
Yes. Gentlemen, it was great to see you. I'm so happy to be able to participate. It's my first time. Be well, everyone, and look forward to seeing
Great to
you
see
again.
you, Pete.
Great to see you again,
Hope
Pete.
to see you next week.
Come
Pete.
back,
Yeah.
Pete.
Good one.
Take care.
Come back.
Yep.
Nice to meet you.
Ron Pell, how do I call you?
How do you call me?
Call him
My
Ron.
phone number?
Call them on.
What number?
You're
Bob,
in
what do you
taxi.
mean?
Either that or
Call me?
just shoot him an email.
Yo, what's his email?
Ron Pell at Cox.net. Very easy. Ron Pell at Cox.net.
Thank you.
And now tens of thousands of people around the world know
It's
how
okay.
to
I get
email
it.
Ross.
I get so
But
much
wait,
crap,
there's
man.
more.
Junk email
I'm going to
doesn't
take that
matter.
out. I'll take that out. That's all
Delete,
going
delete,
out.
delete.
Yeah. I got an Ivor Hughes story that I think I told this before a long time ago on Zoom. I was doing this fill-in for the Sunday morning public affairs shows, and Ivor Hughes had his show on. It was a half hour long, and he's going on, and towards the end of it, he must have muffed up a line or something, and he starts going into his duck routine, his Donald Duck routine, and he starts going, and he goes, oh shit, 5, 4, 3, 2, and then closes the show. And I didn't get to it. It got on the air like that. So I played it for Steve's dad the next day. And your father, Steve, was rolling on the floor. Both of us were rolling on the floor. So he called Ivor Hughes up, and your father said, he says, I like your new ending of your show. He said, oh, thank you. He says, there's one little problem here. Listen, we played it over to him over the phone, and he just heard this silence that lasted about 20 seconds. And he goes, that didn't air, did it? And father says, oh yeah, it aired. Caught Dave off by surprise. And he was so apologetic. He thought that was it. I'll never go on DRC again. But at that point, your father figured, who the hell is listening? And we never got a complaint. Never got a complaint from anyone about Ivor Hughes' oh shit message, But it was hysterical.
It's always kind of amusing the people who have no radio smarts getting behind a microphone. And I remember we were broadcasting some kind of a city council thing on WRCH in Norwich. Now, this is back around 66, 67. And it was live, and there were about 3 or 4 city council members in the studio. One of the guys all of a sudden said, listen, I got to get up and take a piss. I mean, that's common today. You could use piss on the air, but back then, no way.
Oh man,
that's Access TV you're talking about, right?
Oh
Steve?
my God! Oh my God!
Can I tell another Father Nadolny story? This is when I got let go from POP when they changed format from rock and roll to all news. I was not doing much, and my former production director Lance Drake said, "Hey, let's just for fun, let's go down to Channel 3 and be in the audience for the lottery drawing, which they used to do live. They had like 7 people, and Dana Hersey would come down from Boston, and he'd say, "Are you feeling lucky?" Well, we're feeling lucky. We're in the lobby down there on Columbus Boulevard, which later became the newsroom, but it was the lobby back then, and Father Ed was there. And he comes over to me and starts giving me recommendations of what radio stations I might want to apply to. I said, I didn't even realize this guy knew who I was, and we're thinking, what
He was on every radio station.
Yeah, what the hell is he even doing here? I had no idea he even knew I existed, but we're just asking ourselves, what the hell is he even doing here? And then we're sitting in the audience, and we see he's going up to the control room. There was like a fire escape ladder from the studio in the basement to the control room up in the 2nd floor, and he's walking up there with the director and what's going on. And so there's 7 contestants out there, and Percy's going, "Are you feeling lucky?" And this one woman says, "Oh yes, I have faith in the Lord." She won the $100,000, and the
No.
dolly was never with her.
Hey, Lee, was Lance Drake, did he become Scotty Morgan on
He
DRC?
was Scotty Rockin' Mama Morgan, yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
And
I
he
thought so.
was-
He was
he
during
was-
my time at DRC.
Yeah, and he was a genius production guy. I mean, I was sort of his de facto assistant. I just volunteered to kind of hang out with him after my air shift and do production, just because he taught me so much. And then I ended up doing his that job for 18 years after he and the guy who replaced him, and I think the guy who replaced the guy that replaced Lance, I pitched him for that job, but they gave it to TJ, TJ Lambert. But TJ went back into sales, and they finally called me back. And 18 years later, they finally got rid of me.
Did Lance have ever?
You mentioned Dana Hersey. I got to throw this in. Dana Hersey had the greatest announcer voice. Everything was perfectly. I remember that line, "Are you feeling lucky?" But the way he'd say "lucky," it almost sounded like HLUCKY. Are you feeling lucky? Like there was an H there somewhere. Just the way he announced that. I mean, until you just said that, I haven't thought about that in 30 years.
Oh, and by the way, the announcer, because he was the host, the announcer was Bob Ellsworth.
Oh my
Right,
God!
yeah.
Wow.
Dana Hersey was over at Greater Media a few times, and he was the same person off air that he was on air. It was like, hey.
I think he still does the voice of Howie Carr's show. If you listen to Howie Carr in syndication, I think
Is that who that is?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
It's Howie Carr.
That's the voice. Yeah.
Well, Lance Drake never really had an official schedule on air at DRC. Chuck, do you remember that?
He was on FM a lot, as I recall, and he was on during in fact, Bob, you did midday, and I think he did midday on FM.
Yeah, he seemed to be scattered around doing various schedules. They never really had.
He had the title, Bob, of utility. He was the utility job. Yeah,
That was it.
He also was the voice of the Connecticut Dragway for years.
Yeah.
He did a phenomenal job.
After DRC, he came out to California, Northern California, I think San Jose. And I was in touch with him once because I recalled the name. And he said he just didn't want anything more to do with radio. He was done. He was moving on with his life. I forget what he was doing, but he
was working for Apple Computer, I think.
That was it. Yeah.
Yeah.
He just dropped completely out. He wanted no contacts with radio people and everything. I kind of thought, geez, he didn't want to talk. What did I do?
So he went into computers?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, in the future.
Yeah. Associated job, Jim.
And he also made some porn videos on the side. So.
Yes.
Right?
It was primarily porn radio though, which was a wonderful thing. It was just
Real up and comer.
Theater of the mind.
All right.
Oh God. Oh God. No, what I'm gonna do, guys.
That's why you're back in podcasts, Jim. Yeah.
Dave will edit this piece out a little bit anyways. Sure. So I'm gonna give a wind up here, so Dave doesn't have too much to edit, and then he'll send it out later. And like I say, you guys are welcome to stay, and I can't promise that Harrington won't be recording whatever we do next, but we will. No, like Dave with the blooper tape. So we're gonna wrap it up, but please hang on for as long as you can, as long as you like. So we'll do that. But this has been just another great edition. So many things that we bring up from time to time, and covering so many different things, and people popping in and popping out. And I just want to say, if you've been a lot of guys enjoy listening to the Zooms, and some of you think that you don't come on because you think this or think that, or somebody had said, "Oh, isn't it all about sales and all this stuff?" Whatever you have to bring to the table, or if you just want to sit in. That's what Radio Friends, again, is all about. So if you're listening to this, please stop by. Come in 2-3 minutes. That's okay. Just so we see that you're alive and well, and That's what that's the most important thing to keep in mind. All right, so we're gonna do this again next week. I hope, good Lord willing, on the March 29th. They got that
Good
one.
Friday.
Good Friday.
Yep. Oh, Good Friday. It should be a great Friday. No, but anyways.
Fun-filled Friday.
Okay. So we'll do that again. So thanks a lot, guys. God bless, and love you, and thanks for coming by. Appreciate it.
Indeed. Love you, Pete.
Thank you.
Okay, we're clean. No. Hang on.
Never clean. Hell
No. Hang on, I gotta get out of here.
Your friend has got a lot to share.